Let's talk all things wedding venues. So, welcome back everyone to my YouTube channel. If you know me, hi there. If you don't know me and if you're new, welcome. My name is Leah Crystal Chetty. I'm 22 years old and I am a fiance. Recently, actually not so recently engaged. We got engaged in November 2024. However, the wedding is around the corner, very much around the corner. So this is a wedding that's been very much long overdue. I've been really hectic wedding planning. It's been a bit hectic because we only found our wedding venue in January at the end, and our wedding is in April. So we have set the date. So it's been quite hectic. But I just wanted to record this video of all of the tips and tricks I have picked up and noticed when it comes to shopping for wedding venues specifically. So I have a whole long list here. So if you know them, awesome. If you don't, I got you. So I'm gonna list one and then I'll explain a bit about it. First things first is, depending on the time of the year that you are looking to have your wedding, different venues and different places have discounts at certain times of the year. Namely being, what we noticed a lot was a lot of venues had discounts during May, June, July, maybe August, but during the colder season. So if you're someone who's going for and wants to have a indoor wedding, perfect, because places were having discounts up to like 10%, 15%. So that's a really good one. Another thing that goes with the weather, might I just add, like another thing, is your makeup. Brides, bridesmaids, even your guests, you know, if it is super hot, you do not want your makeup melting on you, and then when you're smiling, yeah, then these lines are going to be staying there. Or if you're like frowning, those lines are going to be staying there. So that's another thing. If you're going to have a summer wedding, just be mindful of makeup melting, because I do not think of that. So that's, I guess you could say, tip number 2. Another tip I have here is Mondays to Fridays, sometimes Mondays to Thursdays, but Mondays to Fridays, places have discounts. Or not, let me correct myself, not discounts, but it's at a cheaper price as opposed to a Saturday, Sunday, or a public holiday. So that's also something. If you're trying to have a wedding on a budget, but still a really awesome, spectacular wedding, that is definitely a good thing to keep in mind. Another thing, complimentary suites. Yes. So most places give a complimentary suite to the bride, which is the honeymoon suite, where her and her whole bridal party, her flower girls, her bridesmaids, you know, they get done, and it's like it's a vibe while they get done. Another thing is that not a lot of places give complimentary suites for the men to get done. When I say men, I mean the groom and his whole, you know, the best man and the groomsman and all of that. They don't give a lot of, like, not a lot of places give suites for them to get ready. So that's also something to keep in mind, because I mean, you want your man to come to the venue, shower, get done, and all of that. Not to now come to the venue dressed, and then guests are probably going to see him. And you don't want them to see him until he's standing at the aisle waiting for you. You know what I mean? So that's also something just to keep in mind. It's a good question to ask. The biggest thing. Find out what aesthetic you are going for. What's your vibe? What's your mood board? What's the theme? What do you want your wedding to give? Do you want it to give mob wife with that full black aesthetic, you know, chef's kiss? Do you want it to give vanilla girl, clean girl aesthetic with your very light pastel colors, your creams and your beiges and your whites, and you know, do you want it to give, what's another aesthetic? Blonde moment. You get the vibe. So with mine and my fiance's wedding, we are going with a very minimalist yet tasteful and unique theme. Our color schemes and everything, I will share about that. But yes, so we have already set our themes, all of that. Ours is very simple, I must say. Very simple, but still very tasteful. So yeah, decide on your aesthetic, on your theme. If you want to be very summery and, like, you know, your limes and your yellows and your oranges, and you know, if that's the vibe that you want, have that vibe. But make sure the venue you look at also makes the aesthetic and the vibe you're going for just pop. Like, it must just enhance on that. So yeah, a question to ask when you go check out a venue is, what is the maximum capacity that the chapel or the outdoor venue, as well as the reception hall area can seat, or what is the minimum capacity, because that's also a big thing. We went to this one place, so they had different packages. They had, like, you know, just your canapes and your drinks really, and then they had also like your 3-course meal, your 4-course meal, 5-course meal, 6-course meal, 7-course meal, 8-course meal. An 8-course meal, I was still like, how much can a person eat in one sitting? I understand if it's the whole day, like, okay, fine, like, you know, you'll burn calories as the day goes by, you're gonna get hungry. 8 courses. I was like, no, my brother, no, not gonna happen. But yes, so also that's another thing to keep in mind is how many guests are you going to be having, and also as the more courses there are, the more cha-ching it is. So yeah, now with myself and my fiance, we are very much having a wedding on a budget as much as possible. So yeah, when I saw 8-course meal, I was like, brother, no, not for us. The question to ask is, in the quotation you get from the wedding coordinator or the wedding planner or the venue itself, does it include cutlery and crockery? Why I say that is because not everywhere includes it. And I saw this one place, oh my gosh, it was so nice, so cool. The quotation they gave us was, you know, it was doable, it was good. Come to find out that the crockery, so the underplate, so the placemat, the underplate, as well as like the bowls for like the dessert and the starter and all that, was not included in the quote. And when I tell you, when we got the price for the crockery included on the quote, it was just something that I was like, we can't do that, you know. Also, ask them what are the restrictions on decorations as well as vendors, because there's also this new thing, by the way, there's this new thing where DJs need to have a certain license. I forgot the name of it now, but they need to have a certain license to DJ, otherwise the police can come to your wedding venue, and if the DJ does not have that license, they can shut down your wedding, like, then and there, my dude. So that is something that you also need to take into consideration. When you speak to your DJ, you need to be like, do you have this license, or have you bought the rights to use this music when you are DJing? Also, to check with your venue, what time is doors close time, home time, you know, for most people, or for people. And most of the venues, I've noticed, it is 12 o'clock. With the venue that we have chosen, it is 12 o'clock, but I'm happy with that, because I mean, like, I'll be spending the whole day with the people. At some point I just want to be with my husband, you know, once everyone leaves, have our last dance, and then, you know, start the honeymoon vibes. So yeah. Also, when it comes to decorations, not all places allow you to bring decorations, firstly. Secondly, if you do bring decorations, they might charge you extra. Thirdly, they might only want you to use their decorating team, basically, and decorations that they have. So that's just also a good question to ask, depending on the decorations you want. Because also, I mean, when you have a wedding, you want to do it to your style, to your vibe, you know, and you want everything to be done to the T and perfect. So if you go to a place and it's just not it, then yeah, it's not meant for you. It's not meant for you. If you are having an outdoor wedding, ask them, what is the backup plan for if it rains? Because the last thing a bride needs is, on her wedding day, she's having an outdoor wedding and it starts raining. That is the last thing that she needs, because then she will be a hot mess at that point. So ask them that question. Another thing, we live in South Africa. We do have Eskom and load shedding. So ask them, what happens when there is load shedding? Is there solar power? Is there generators? Is there something, you know? Also, to ask them, what is the duration of your rental period? So is it like 8 hours on that day? What time is the earliest that the wedding party can get there to get done? And also, after the whole event, do they have cleaners that come, or do you need to source out cleaners to come and clean the venue? And will that be at your own expense, like added on? Yes, another thing, find out at that place, especially if it's a very big venue, is it only your wedding happening on that day? Why I say that is because the last thing you want is that your guests come and then it's like, we're at the wedding, dude, we're at the wedding, where are you? And it's like, I'm also at the wedding. And then you see a sign that says, welcome to so-and-so's wedding, and not Leah and Jacques' wedding. You know what I mean? For example. So find out if there's any other functions, conferences, or anything like that happening on the same day as your wedding. And if so, ask them, will there be people who are specifically going to be guiding your guests to say, go park here, take this pathway, turn right, turn left, and you'll see a pretty green area, and that's where you will take your seat. You know, like, make sure that's all sorted, because last thing you need your guests phoning you, hey dude, where's your wedding? No, that cannot be happening. So also for my vapors, another thing is knowing where you like, is it a venue where your people can go and smoke, like whether, you know, like a vape or whatever the case is, to know that way all your guests are accommodated as best as possible. Yes, you will not be able to make everyone happy, but if you can try, then try, you know, try. But yeah, so yes, that is basically all the advice I have to give when it comes to wedding venue shopping. Another thing I just wanted to say is that to all of my 2025 brides or 2026 brides, it is okay to not know, because at one point I knew I was getting married this year in April, May at the latest. But at one point, I did not know on what day my wedding will be. I did not know where my wedding will be. I did not know what dress I'm gonna wear. I did not know anything. I even used to say, I am so stressed by how calm I am. And eventually everything just fell into place. Everything fell into place. So all I'm gonna say is, I know it feels hectic. I know it is stressful. I know it is, yeah, because like my brides, I'm sure you guys can relate. Like, yes, your fiance is, you know, supportive and stuff, but from what I've heard from most brides, they can kind of, I relate to them, because at times when they ask their like husband to be like, hey baby, what do you think of this color palette? They'll be like, oh my baby, whatever makes you happy. What do you think of this table decor? Whatever makes you happy. And that point, just like, my dude, choose pink or black. You know. But at the end of the day, it'll all work out. Stay positive, stay optimistic, stay focused on yourself, because at the end of the day, you and your groom, or you and your partner rather, it's your guys' big day to shine. And one more piece of advice, I think I said already, but one more piece of advice is, on your wedding day, it is going to be so rushed. Well, not rushed, but it's going to go like, just like that, you know. Savor every single second. Savor every single second. And something that myself and my fiance said that we are going to do is, we'll do the ceremony, and after the ceremony, before we go and do our marriage pictures, like our newlywed pictures, we want to take 10 to 15 minutes away, just the two of us, to be like, oh my word, dude, I am Mrs., you are Mr., we are married, you know, like, just to take those two, like, you know, like 10 minutes, just to like soak in what has just happened and the milestone you and your partner have hit, and take that time. Be selfish on that day. It is about you and your wife, or you and your husband, nobody else. Be selfish on that day. Take that 10 minutes just to like soak up all of that and be like, we're married. You know, and then afterwards go take your pictures, and when they announce Mr. and Mrs. so-and-so, you own that title, especially if you're a female and you're changing your surname. A lot of people have been asking me, am I gonna double bridge or double carriage my surname? So Chetty Paulson. Paulson is my fiance's surname. And at first I wasn't too sure, because I mean, I've always been known as Miss Chetty or Chetty. Like, from time I was in school, my teachers used to call me Miss Chetty, but I'll always be a Chetty at heart. And with that being said, I was like, I'm gonna go full Paulson. So I'm actually very excited to be called Mrs. Paulson. And yeah, even at like when people call me Miss Chetty, I tell them, hey guys, it's Mrs. Paulson. It's Mrs. Paulson on the period. So yeah, but with that being said, that is all the tips and tricks I have when it comes to shopping for a wedding venue. I hope you guys all found this video very helpful, very informative. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more wedding content. Have a great day, everybody.